touches and nose boops with the palm of our hand. This is a really fun behavior to ask for to get her warmed up for training, but also as a redirect from distractions or if she's getting into something in the house.
Yes, good girl. Nice job. Libby, sit. Yes, good girl. Down. Yes, good girl. Good girl. Libby, sit. Yes, good girl. Down. Yes, good girl.
Libby, for come when called, we want to say, Libby, come. And then as soon as she turns and looks to us, we're going to mark yes and begin praising her, Libby, and then reward her once she gets to us.
Good girl. Nice job.
Leave it means do not touch that thing. So here we're practicing dropping treats to kind of mimic a real situation that could happen in the kitchen where you drop something dangerous. Again, here I'm mimicking a real situation by dropping a paper towel. Get it just means that she is allowed to take the thing that has dropped on the floor in case there is something you want her to have. Drop it has been one of the hardest cues for Libby. What I'm doing here is playing tug with her, but adding in 2 rules. So we're practicing wait and get it, and then drop it when she does get the tug toy. So with drop it right now, she's at the stage kind of in between stage 2 and stage 1. So what this looks like is I'm going to say drop it, and then I'm going to toss a couple treats on the ground. She's going to let go of the toy to go get those treats. And then, so that's kind of stage 2 where she's mostly at, but we're starting to get into that next stage, which is when we ask her to drop it, we're actually going to pause for a little bit and see if she lets go first. If she lets go, we mark yes and toss the treats to the ground. Yes. If she does not drop it, we're still going to toss those treats because that just tells us where kind of she's at in the learning process. So the goal is going to be that you can say drop it, she lets go, and then you toss the treats. How this is going to translate around the house is by first having some small cookie jars in areas of the house where you spend your most time with Libby. So that way you always have access to some reinforcement for her. Then what you'll do is when you see her with an item, in the beginning, what you'll most likely want to do is pause, go get the treat from the cookie jar, approach her, ask her to drop it, and be ready to toss those treats off to the side. So she goes to get the treat while you pick up the item that you don't want her to have. Drop it. Over time, what you're going to work towards is saying drop it. Yes, she lets go of the item, and then you're going to do what we call a praise party to the cookie jar. So you're going to say drop it, she lets go, and then you're going to praise and excitedly run with her to the cookie jar to get that reinforcement for dropping it. Drop it is one of those ones that we want to make sure we are reinforcing the majority of the time, especially right now while she's young and learning, because we are asking her to let go of kind of a treasure that she has found, and she is not going to drop it unless we make it worth it for her. Drop it. Yes, good girl. Place means go there, lay there, and stay there until released. The release word that Libby has learned is free, and that means she is free to get up and do whatever, of course within reason. So here I'm just practicing place in a very formal training type setting. We're practicing distance and some duration as I move around and make noise, open things, just small distractions. And then periodically you're going to see me reward her by tossing a treat over to her on the bed. But that treat does not mean that she's allowed to get up, right? She needs to wait until she hears that release word, which is free. Here we are practicing with distraction, but not a lot of distance or duration. So this is a great way to get the kids involved. So you're going to basically play Simon Says with the kids, ask the kids to spin, jump, run, all those things. And then every time that the kids do one of those things, then we're going to mark and reward Libby for staying on her mat. So this really builds some great strength kind of around those distractions, especially distractions such as kids, which can be one of the major distractions for our young puppies. This is also a great way to get the kids involved in interacting with the puppy without there being too much hands-on, so that doesn't leave any room for any of the unwanted behaviors such as biting and nipping. Next up is polite greetings. So what we do here is when we have a guest at the door, we're going to ask Libby to go to her place. We're going to go to the door and let them come in. So in this video, I'm just practicing that. There's nobody at the door. This is just a great way to build some practice at home, practicing going to the door, talking to someone out there, and rewarding Libby for staying. So this time we're going to have a pretend guest, which is my husband in this scenario. I'm going to have him come in all the way while she stays on her bed, and then I'm going to release her to go say hi. You're going to tell your guest to put their hand out, palm facing forward, so she can go greet them. She's going to give them a little nose boop as touch, and then they can give her a few pets. Then you're going to mark yes and have her come back to you. So here she goes, says hi. She gets a little bit of pets, and I'm going to have her come back to me, back to her place, get a reward, and then we're going to let her go again.
Go say hi.
Practicing with other members of the household like this in a pretend scenario is a great way to build Libby's confidence with doing this, and also getting a lot of good practice in outside of those really high arousal times when a guest is at the door.
Good girl.
When we say wait, we are drawing an imaginary line and telling our dogs that they cannot go any further. But they are allowed to be in a sit, down, or stand. You can see Libby chose to stand in this scenario, as long as they do not cross that imaginary line and go any further. She's also allowed to go back through the house if she wants to. Again, as long as she does not cross that line, which in this case was the front door, which is one of the main places I like to practice so that we don't have any door dashers, of course, that are running out the door as soon as the front door is opened, so we don't have any loose dogs.
Yes, good puppies. Good job.
Wait is also really helpful in instances like stairs so that we keep everybody safe and we don't have dogs running under our feet, which Libby is prone to doing. So here I've asked her to wait, and then if I'm going to let her cross that imaginary line, unlike I did with the door, I'm going to cue her free, which means she is free to now cross that line. If she is not allowed to cross the line like you saw at the front door, I never have to use a release because she's not getting that chance to go through there. Libby has come such a long way with crate. For crate, you're going to cue her crate. She goes in, mark yes, and then reward her. You want to practice this sometimes outside of the times when she's actually going to go in there so that she doesn't assume she's always getting shut in her crate, since she is still building her confidence with being crated. At night, she's doing great. She's not barking at all once she's gone into the crate. During the day, she's still barking some, but it has significantly improved since her first week here.
Yes, good girl. Libby, free. Good girl. Nice job. Crate. Yes, good girl. Yes, good girl. Yes, good girl. Libby, free. Good job. Nice job, Libby.
Another way we built comfort with the crate is by feeding her in the crate. So for most meals now, she will run on into the crate and wait for me to bring her bowl. If not, you can just cue her in like I did here, and then she gets to eat. Enrichment is another really big important part of our dog's life. This can include playtime in the yard, playtime with other dogs, lots of options for chewing, appropriate options for chewing, training time, time with the family, puzzle toys, outings, all of those things that enrich our dogs' lives. And that is where we get those nice, beautiful house dogs, because all of those needs have been met. And that's a wrap on Libby's training.